my teen is having a falling out with their friend group,
Ugh.
and as a result, the social aspect's been totally taken away, um, and this has led to some self-harm and suicidal thoughts, and making some plans that were thankfully thwarted. And do you have any guidance or advice for anyone that finds himself dealing with a child that is depressed, and their social circles being ripped away from them, and they're really struggling with that?
Yeah. Oh, and I can just have a pit in my stomach thinking about that. And my heart goes out to that family. So a couple of things. First of all, we'll start with the self-injuring. I'm guessing cutting.
Yes.
Kids Google, how do I feel have less anxiety, and how to develop an eating disorder, and how to cut without being caught are the two top hits. So when
Doctor, will you say that again?
How to develop an eating disorder and self-harm, how to cut without being caught.
Those are the two people are Googling.
I mean, I'm not a Google expert, but that's what my clients tell me when they Googled how to help themselves. That's what they learned.
Yes.
Or YouTube, or I don't know whatever means, Snapchat it. I don't know how they got their information, but it's so prevalent right now. And cutting is very, very prevalent right now. So I'm going to start there if I could. If you see that your child has been cutting, first and foremost, identify it and express empathy. It is super easy to get into red zone and be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? But here's the thing. They already are overwhelmed. There usually is a lot of guilt and shame associated with the cutting. So by coming across as judging them, and of course you're doing it because you love them and you don't want them to hurt themselves. But remember, if you remember our training on the teen brain, the teen is very sensitive to our reactions. So try to be calm, be empathetic, call them out on it, ask them, what's going on? What caused you to do that? How helpful do you think that was? And have a conversation. And the way that I approach it too is say, I'm really sorry that you felt so distressed, that felt like the best thing for you to do. And let's get you some other coping skills to help you so you don't have to do that again. But really coming from a place of empathy is very important. And you also want to contract with them. And I'll talk about contracting because we're going to talk about that with suicidal thoughts too. Mm-hmm. With suicidal thoughts, a lot of people will say, oh, but they'll probably never do that. They'll never do that. Never underestimate the power of a red zone brain.
Yeah.
I have a client right now who is at a particular school, and last night, a student died by suicide.
So sorry.
It's really prevalent right now. So if you have any inclination that your child may be having thoughts, come right out and ask. Again, from a place of empathy, not judgmental. Keep your reaction down, because concern can be viewed by a teen brain as you're judging me or you're criticizing me. You have to call it out. You have to ask questions. Have you thought about this? On a scale from 0 to 10, how likely are you to do this? 0 is not at all, never. 10 is I'm definitely going to do that. Do you have a specific plan? Is the plan feasible? Get that information, and then use depending on where they are. If they're a high number and you're really concerned, then you have to have a conversation and say, what does that mean? Does it mean, are they willing to contract that? So, for example, I've had one of my children sleep in the same room as me because they could not contract that they would be safe by themselves at night. Mm-hmm. Mm. So it's a really prevalent thing. So figure out and contract for a 24-hour period or less. Don't say, will you agree to not hurt yourself for the next month? That is way too long. Like, we're talking 24 hours. If that's too much, How about the next 2 hours? Can we agree to that? Because what that does is it gets you to be working together. It gets them to make a commitment, at least in the short term, to not hurt themselves. Remembering that a red zone brain, when people are at high levels of stress, they tend to focus exclusively on what's wrong. And so in that 2-hour period or 24-hour period, hopefully they won't be in such an intense emotional place so that they can start to see things better. But you have to address it head on, and really they need the skills to be better be able to deal with their distress. So whatever that may mean, talking to a mentor, a coach, a therapist, whatever it means. The other thing that I highly recommend, you want to remember that the number one predictor of death by suicide is not depression, it's hopelessness.
Mm.
Hopelessness is the belief things will never get better. So what I say frequently to my children and to the young ones who, and adults too, who I coach, is I will empathize with them. And this may not be other people's language, but this is how I say it. This sucks. And you are in the suck right now. Like full-heartedly acknowledging, I'm not going to minimize that, your friend group turning on you is anything but painful. And then I say, you want to empathize with them for a while. And you also want to say, that eventually things won't suck as much. Because you need to start instilling hope. So you're acknowledging the suck now, but you're also instilling that hope of it's not going to be this bad forever.
Yeah.
So helping to really create a sense of hope is so, so important.
Mm. Such a
Giving them
powerful thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how hope is such a powerful thing.
And that goes back to goal setting. Goal setting can be like that's a huge benefit in those moments, is finding a coping skill that you can replace it with. And when I'm coaching, and it's so prevalent right now, it's constant. And I tell them it's like an addiction, right? And so the mind doesn't like to let go of an addiction without having a new one. And so take out the self-harm. What are you subbing in for it? You don't just take it out and leave a big empty hole with no way to cope there. You have to sub something in.